Captain's Log Supplemental.
Hey Jeremy, you know those race cars you're busy building?
Yeah, I do. I
You,
got one that I'm looking at every day.
you know what I don't see you working on?
You don't see me working on the amazing Sentinel system yet.
That's true. It would take all of 10 minutes for you to have one.
And it's very quick and easy to install.
It is. It is. And we could watch you when we are not at the race with you and see how you're doing. And then we can call you up when you get out of the car and tell you everything you did wrong.
And I love that because so many years I've been driving and not been able to see what I'm doing.
I know.
And now we can.
I know. You know what I'd like to do with the video? My most favorite thing is I take the video and I load it on YouTube, and then I send it to my coach and say, look at 26 minutes and 17 seconds. Look at this one lap and tell me what I can do better. And every single time, you know what they say?
Everything.
Exactly. Precisely. So with the Sentinel system, you get instantaneous feedback plus useful feedback that unfortunately is accurate for my driving.
I think it's accurate for all of our driving.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's probably true. Yep. But you need to get one in your car, sir.
Yes, I do. And with the discount code that you're going to tell everybody, they can save 10% on this awesome system.
Yep. Trouble-free. I haven't had an issue getting video every time we've gone out with the Sentinel. It's always worked. Can't say the same for some of the other systems we've tried. So I don't know. It's on the podcast notes down there. Don't do it while you're driving, though. We like to have our listeners live. It's good.
From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher, and their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher, and our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. Their mission: to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training Podcast. I'm going to be one of the hosts for this episode. My name is Bill. Who else is hosting?
I'm Vicki.
And I am Jeremy.
Jeremy. You're in your honorary producer role.
I'm so excited about this.
I know. Your hair on your head's starting to stand on. No, it's not.
It is. It's starting to grow because I'm so excited.
Well, Santa Claus gave you something for Christmas.
So we have a very special guest tonight. Someone I met years ago, racing 24 Hours of Lemons. Has a plethora of knowledge. Very, very incredible driver, in my opinion. Many record holder individual. Friend of ours, Nick Barbato. He is on here tonight. Nick, say hi.
Hey guys, thanks again for having me. Super stoked to be here. Honor and a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That'll wear out by the end of the episode. Don't worry. You're making way more of this than it really is, but that's fine. So Jeremy says you need to have Nick on. I'm like, okay, who is he? But it seems like we've raced some of the same stuff. You just do it better. So we set the bar low. Don't worry. You step right over the bar we set, so it's fine. But just in case people aren't familiar with your background, could we kind of go into what you've been doing and what you've progressed and how Lemons was fun, but not the limit so far?
Absolutely. I could rant for a couple of minutes if you want to
Go ahead.
Yeah.
We have lots of tape in this recorder. Don't worry.
All right, so I'll just go right from the beginning. I've been obsessed with cars and racing my entire life. Would watch Dale Earnhardt drive around in circles for 3.5 hours at a time back in the 80s. Began doing my first dangerous stuff on public roads at age 16 in the backwoods of Connecticut.
Mexico.
In Mexico. That's right.
Mexico. Yeah.
Close.
Yeah, right. That's southern Connecticut, way
right.
southern.
What part of
right.
Connecticut?
What's that?
What part of Connecticut?
Wallingford, Connecticut is my hometown.
Okay.
That wasn't
Yeah,
too far
yeah,
away. We lived
yeah.
there.
That's
We lived in Connecticut for a little bit.
yeah. Oh, it's an awesome town.
Mm-hmm.
So started doing that. Never had an opportunity, and I come from a pretty humble family, so never really had an opportunity to do any racing myself. Went to college, engineering degree. Started the Yukon Car Club. Started doing competitive go karting as soon as I could afford it. Just when I graduated, would drive up to F1 Boston and Grand Prix New York in the early mid 2000s. Won a couple championships there. There's a great go-kart track in Wallingford, Connecticut, right down the road from me still. On track karting, won a couple of championships there. I actually did the graphics on the building there back in 2005. Little key factoid there.
Nice.
And just been obsessed with it. Then I was able to afford to do some autocross. Started autocrossing in 2007 through 2007, 8 till when I kind of stopped around 2019. I won multiple SCCA national championships in my S2000 and Nissan 350Z. The most awesomest two victories were the 2014 STR National Championship in the field of close to 70 in the Honda S2000 CR. Also won the 2013 overall Pro Solo Championship. So there's like a Pro Solo finale where you compete in super challenges. I won that. That was awesome. Started doing sim racing. Was a Nissan GT Academy finalist in the top 16. I finished I think third in the time trials out of over like 500,000 drivers. I went over to Silverstone, competed on the TV show, did really awesome there. Some interesting stories about what happens over there, but I did really awesome over there. In 2012, 13, I did my first Lemons race with Tom Lamino in the team Far From Rinnin Fox at the time. Now it's a Golf. We won some races together. I think our first one was the Class B at NJMP Thunderbolt 2013. That was an epic win. Tom was literally in tears after the race. It came down to the last lap. From there, I did some time trialing track days. Again, didn't have too much cash. In 2016, I ran for the first time in NASA time trial. I broke every lap record in New England and won the NASA National Championship, actually the East Coast Championship at Watkins Glen in 2016. Finished second in PTB running a Hyundai Genesis Coupe. I then did my first ever race as a pro in Pirelli World Challenge in 2017 at Road America, broke the touring car lap record, passed for the lead in turn one, led the whole race start to finish, ran out of gas with a 13-second lead with 1/3 of a lap to go. From there, 2018, 19, I did some other stuff. Was doing lemons the whole time still. And then I took like a year or two off in like 1920 for obvious reasons, then came back in 2021. And then from there won basically, all the NASA regional championships in ST5. I won the NASA National Championship last year in ST5 at Pit Race.
Wow.
And also ran as a pro in the SRO series in 2022 with Hyundai. And did a whole bunch of stuff there as well in what's called SRO DC America.
So
that's it. That's the rant.
that like all of that sounded impressive, but let's talk about the highlight that you summarized there. Sure. You got Lamino to win a race.
Yes, I did.
Was that the race that you guys won with the golf with Jonah there as well?
So I actually my memory's failing me because I thought that was with the Fox. Actually, I still think it was still the Fox then.
Okay, really? I think you might. Yeah. Okay, I think he did say he won B class with the Fox.
Yes, and so the long story short on that one is went 2 days. Towards the end of the second day, our transponder failed on the car. It failed because the exhaust header fell off and it melted the transponder. So the stewards let us come in and go through sort of like a scrutineering, and they let us back out and they said, okay, we're going to keep track of you, via basically sight. So they said, don't worry, we're going to make you come in, but you're not going to lose laps. So they sent us back out approximately where we were. We had like a lap lead at that point. Well, the car was down like 30 horsepower and getting terrible gas mileage. And I was the last driver in the car. And so we lost, I think like 3 or 4 seconds a lap of pace. And the Magic school bus team began to run us down. a few seconds, hours of excruciating just watching this lead melt and melt and melt. And I'm having to do fuel saving while slicing my way through traffic. And they got within like, a rear view mirror's worth of distance. Finally, I was able to hold on, take the win. And as we're pulling into the pit lane, after the car started to starve for the last couple of laps, it started sucking air and completely died, rolling into the garage. And Tom, no exaggeration, he was so happy. He hugged me. He started crying. It was like the most epic thing. I could tell it. He'd been trying for so long, so much hard work to win a Class B. I think that was his first race ever they won. So yeah, that was an awesome moment.
Yeah, I think it was.
So you drive well enough to have a Tom Lamino car finish a race.
That's a feat in itself.
That's right. That's right. And we all know Tom's a character, but
it's no fun not picking on Tom. So you gotta do what you gotta do. It's fine.
Was that the race that Jackie was with you guys?
I don't think Jackie was driving with us then. No.
Okay.
I think it was if I had to guess, I think it was me, Tom, GJ Dixon drove a stint or two. And then there was the dentist guy. I think his name was Steve. If you remember Steve, yeah. So I think they both did a stint, and then it was me. So basically, I went out, and then GJ went out, and then Tom was supposed to finish the race, but Tom was like, "I have to make a decision. Do I want to drive or do I want to win?" So he said, "Nick, you're getting back in the car." I said, "Okay, let's do this."
Wow, let me know.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Have we picked on him enough yet? Can we move on to the fun stuff now?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right.
So, Nick, you've got this amazing racing background, and we're going to talk about that more in a little bit because I got a couple questions about that. But how about your personal life? What a little bit about you, what you do for a living, what kind of, are you married? That kind of stuff. What's going on with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a degreed mechanical engineer from the University of Connecticut. I have a minor in computer science. I love all things technology, philosophy. I love to exercise. I run at least a few days a week. I work in the aerospace industry for Pratt & Whitney military side. I work basically on an engine program called the F-100 engine. So that powers all the F-15 and F-16 fighters. Well, about half of them all around the world. So I work both with the U.S. Air Force, and there's an international customer, the Singapore Air Force, that I work with. So that's my job. I've been there with Pratt for about 13 years now. It's going awesome. They're great. I have a great team of people I work with. They let me race and work. And then I've been married since 2018, June 2018. I married my wife, Amy. We've been together really since college. Yeah, she's the best. She lets me do all this crazy stuff for a long time. She's always been there behind me and supporting me. So yeah, no kids. We're trying. We've been trying for a little while. So hopefully, that happens. And yeah,
we refer to it as practicing.
That's right.
So when you're out on track, what I love this question. It's I ask about what motivates you. What do you tell yourself? Race philosophies and motivation mottos. How do you talk to yourself or share?
Yeah. I could give you a long answer to that, but I'll just say we'll start with one of the first questions, which is what's the mindset? And I think some people have to calm down a little bit. Other people have to hype themselves up. I probably have to calm down a little bit because I'm so enthusiastic. So actually
get centered.
Yes, you have to get centered. I'll quote Jensen Button. He's one of my favorite drivers. I have a story about him as well if you want later. But talking about the mindset, he said you have to use enough emotion in the cockpit to get yourself up to peak performance, peak reaction, peak awareness, but not so much hyped up that you get distracted and lose focus. You have to just, like you said, get into the peak, get zen. And so for me, I have a little sticker that I've left in my car since 2018. In every car I drive, it's just a white sticker, and I write with black magic marker, smart decisions. Just
Oh,
make smart decisions. It doesn't matter whether you're alone by yourself, you're dead last, you're ahead by 2 laps. Just make smart decisions, because you have to come home, and you got to get home in one piece. And you don't
right.
want to wreck it, So that's what I'll say. In terms of like my motivation, I just want to push as hard as I can for as long as I can until I get old and slow and make memories, because there's been times in my life where I've stepped away from this and I just not as happy or fulfilled. And sometimes happiness in life can be fleeting. That's something that's not going to last forever, no matter where you are, what you're doing in life. But to pursue something meaningful is something that can withstand the test of time. And for me, like, I find meaning in racing and trying to do all that I can, for me, it's about the driving first and foremost, to try and extract every last 1,000th of a second from the car. And that's an exercise and a type of mastery you can seek to achieve your entire life,
Right.
and I have, and I keep doing that. There, behind me, there's a driving sim rig, and there's some post-it notes on the rig. And one of the post-it notes says, "Hot lapping in pain." And I actually got that from a young kid I was racing with, because I like to train with, a range of ages, but, some of the younger guys that are really awesome sim racers, this guy, John Swartz, and he actually coined that phrase after I told him about how I was training. And so I wrote it down. It's like, even in this sim, there are periods of frustration, and you have to almost sort of be a little bit obsessed, where you're making a mistake. How can you improve it, and how can you just keep doing it until you can't get it wrong? And that level of obsession and perfection, it's like you have to sort of you have to love that to really achieve mastery level. And here we are, 10,000 plus hours later between everything, and this is the result. So I always try to keep that mindset.
Always in training.
That's right.
Yeah, you
Absolutely.
never really do finish.
Never.
There's no end.
I think the point, it's like, I think anything in life, probably heard it, it's like the second that you think that you're done, it's over.
Mhm.
You're going to get passed by. So yeah. So we'll see. I know my body won't last in peak forever. I try to stay in shape, however many years I got left. And then maybe I'll see what I want to do. I know I want to be involved in racing forever, no matter what. Whether that's a coach or in a team, or helping out or whatever. I'll be doing this until I can't anymore. So
Right.
I think we all will.
I think so. I think so, based on this group here.
First, we'd have to get to where we can do it to be able to do it when we can't do it. So we're still working
Right.
on the can do it part, but we're getting there.
Right. Roger that.
So you were one of the more unique guests that we talked about, because when I talked to Jeremy and I talked to you, I was like, well, what should we talk about? And you're like, well, we could talk about this. And I'm like, wow, I could have like an episode on each one of those.
Oh yeah.
Never
Absolutely.
mind the fun things. But I guess the one that's easiest to deal with, because I don't know if you know this yet, but you'll be back on.
I would love that.
Yeah.
We can
already
talk
talking too much, probably.
we can talk racing a very long time. So you've raced in, Lemons, and you've raced in lots of different series, and we were wondering if you could kind of compare from the driver's side what the different series are, maybe from the driver, maybe from the cars, just to give people a perspective on, they may have a dream of, I want to race in X, and you may have raced in X, and you may say it's like this, and they'll be like, well, I don't want to do that, or maybe I really do want to do that. So, yes, Jeremy.
So how about compare Lemons to let's not do ST5. How about TC America?
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna give
They're almost the same. Almost.
No, way different.
So close.
I'm gonna give a lot of kudos to Lemons and lots of cars, maybe some not so fast, nonstop traffic thing.
Mhm.
I cringe when I hear some people talk about, budget endurance racing. It's not real racing, blah, 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 blah. I tell people, um, if you want to learn how to manage traffic, if you want your senses at the absolute limit of situational awareness, you will put yourself behind the wheel of a Lemons car and try to do that for 90 minutes, 2 hours when you're trying to push and your team is relying upon you and you're constantly being overtaken by faster cars and you're constantly overtaking slower cars. And there's all these things you have to think about. If you want to learn real racecraft, join a Lemons team. Of course, we're all trying to have fun, right? But we're also trying to do the best job we can. It's still a race.
Yep.
And there's a lot to be learned. And I've had some fantastic battles in Lemons. I could name one. I had like a 12 lap battle at Loudon with the flood stang in 2013 or 14. I actually have it's saved. I should post the video.
Link in the description.
Yeah.
Please, I want to see it.
It was all, and they had monster power on the straights, and I got a 2-liter 8-valve making 120 something at the wheels, and I'm out cornering them by 6 or 7 mile an hour, and they're walking me by a football field, and so and they're blocking and defending, and it was sometimes maybe a little bit like on the limit of what was really acceptable, but I didn't care. I was enjoying it, and so I don't know how else you get into racing and have those experiences and do it safely for the low cost barrier to entry. And that was why I did it as well. It's like, if you want to make it happen, the average person can get in and have a truly competitive and enjoyable experience in Lemons. So yeah, all the credit to Lemons. If you have a question, then I'll transition to the comparison.
We just raced not last weekend, a previous weekend with 147 cars on Thunderbolt. So we are well aware of passing and being passed.
Lemons does force you to learn situational awareness and traffic management. It makes you be very crafty when you have to deal in clusters.
And I'm glad you said that, Nick, because I tell everybody that as when I became an instructor years ago, people, how can I become better? How can I become better? I want to become a racer. Find a Lemons team and go race in Lemons, and you will have your situational awareness heightened to the limit. And I'm really glad that you said that, because that makes me feel good. Knowing that you agree with that, that makes me feel like I'm doing something correct.
100%. And I don't know that any person that has done Lemons could disagree with that, because it's I remember I was absolutely terrified my first stint in Lemons, being surrounded by that. I don't know if it was 160 or whatever, but it was something like 110 or 120 at Loudon, and it was like, oh my gosh. But over time you just get used to it, and it's a walk in the park. And then when you're doing, just the, itsy bitsy 40 cars at a time around NJMP Thunderbolt, it's like you're driving by yourself, and that's a huge advantage when you're competing in traffic or even in a sprint race, as well as managing traffic. And that will probably be my transition to the TC America. It's like, or even an SD5, but in TC America as well, when sometimes you're on course with slower cars. And oftentimes, if you're competing with another driver or another car that's of similar pace to you, a lot of times the difference between winning and losing, especially in a sprint, is when you come up on the back of the slower traffic. And in TC America, it was the TCA class. And, you're only maybe running 3-4 seconds, a lap faster than them. So maybe every corner is, maybe 2-3 tenths of a second, you can get balked. And so you have to be able to read, and you're in this battle. And then you start to see the traffic coming out in the distance. And then you have to get ready and prepare and set yourself up. And maybe that means backing up your braking zone if you can, by a few tenths of a second, to get a clean run out and pass them on the straight so that you're not interrupted. Because sometimes, if it's very easy to get past, and then it's very difficult to overtake, usually in those, high competition sprint series, and that could be your entire race. So literally the skills you learn in Lemons managing traffic, like, would correlate to a quote unquote pro racing series. Yeah. Yeah. And then just on TC America, obviously that's completely different. It's a sprint. TC America was an interesting experience because it was just front wheel drive. So obviously the endurance racing I did was front wheel drive, but a lot of my sprint racing was in front engine, rear wheel drive. And you have to adapt to that, particularly in a car that's making 270, 300 real horsepower and, no traction control. And so instead of, getting, on power oversteer, now you're getting on throttle. It's like almost what's called snap understeer on throttle. And managing that in some ways can be even more difficult. So learning like the high grip setup challenges through that, I helped to get the car set up. We made some great improvements. It was cool to compete in the rain in that series as well. My first race in this series, actually, I took a pole position. I got a call with 2 weeks to spare. I had no idea I was even going to be racing. They had a driver that backed out. I know the owner of the team. He said, "Hey, Nick, if you can get your butt down here, you can pay for a set of tires. You can come run an Indy Speedway at the finale." I said, "Sure, hell yeah." And I put the car in pole position in the wet. Having real wet rain races was awesome because sometimes some of the groups don't really allow that. I mean, you can race in the rain in NASA, but it's different. A lot of times guys don't run rain tires. So to have a real rain race, a real rain competition was awesome. And then just managing those tires. I mean, that's, I think, something that's maybe not really widely known. Maybe if you watch F1, right, they always talk about how the tires fall off, and this is a scrub set versus a sticker set, and the drop off, and they're sort of engineered to fall off. Well, literally after the first heat cycle, you're like a second slower on the slick we were running, which was a Pirelli slick. And so and even the first lap, and so you had to learn to bring up your tires. It was basically like F1. You had to do your outlap properly, get the tires just in the window, actually sort of learn to get them just outside the window so that on your flying lap, and of course you're only fueled for 3 laps, basically your outlap, flyer, and your in lap, and all the pressure of that. But then just literally feeling that the tires are just about up so that when you get through turn 1, maybe you leave some margin, but then the tires are fired up at turn 1. And if it's 10 corners, you're at the limit 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then by the end of the lap, those tires are gone. So you literally have to adjust yourself. I'm going to back off 1% in the final corner because these tires are already toast. But I got the meat of that lap in that peak window of the tire and then executing that lap. And that was one of the most awesome driving challenges for me in that series.
So you'd say they're a little bit different, right?
Almost the same. Almost the same.
Yeah.
You got to admit the field speed differential is probably a little bit wider.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy too, the speeds. There's a TCX, so there's a class called the TCX class, and those cars are making like another 40, 50 horsepower, and they'll come flying by on the straight. But we were similar in the corners. In Lemons, I recall some similar speed differentials. I can remember being on track in the Fox and some, V8 Nissan 240SX or some turbocharged something or some Camaro, just comes honking by you like you're tied to a stump. And that could be a little bit disconcerting, and it never gets disconcerting because you hate to keep driving in your mirrors. But, that's the reality of mixed class racing for sure. And Lemons teaches you that.
For sure. So one of the things I do when I'm interviewing somebody is I like Google their name, and I always get concerned when I put in their first name, their last name, and then I put in racing, and then Google pops up accident. So yours didn't pop that up for me. Yours didn't pop that up for me. I'm just saying. But I did get I believe you won the November 2023 Move of the Month on the
Yokohama Move of the Month, right?
Yeah.
NASA Move of the Month. Yep. That was awesome. Yeah, that was for an epic battle I had at, again, New Jersey Motorsports Park, Thunderbolt, an ST4. There was a class of, I think, 20 something cars. I put it on pole. I was running Maxxis tires. I could have run Hoosiers, but I said, let's just pull the restrictor plate and run an ST4.
Mm-hmm.
and ended up having an epic battle after hitting some traffic. Got passed in traffic by another. He's a very talented driver. This guy Frank Milan. He has an E46 M3. And we had a nice little. Actually, the battle was even longer than the video showed. It was like a good, 6 laps. But I think I showed the last 3 or 4 laps. Nose to nose, and of course, I had to dub in the Leonard Skinnerd Freebird solo. To really hype it up.
You can only have so many laps. I mean, the song doesn't go on forever. No, it does. It does go on forever.
That's right.
That's fine.
That's right.
It's sad when you only get 1 lap and you listen to all of Freebird, though. That would be a problem.
Oh, I know.
That's a tough one. Tough one. So we were at national championship last year in pit race. I heard, rumors that, it went okay for you. You kind of, it's fair to middling, kind of something like that. Maybe describe your weekend, because that's a long weekend.
Oh man. Oh, that was awesome. Lots of emotion even now. For some reasons, which I'll say afterward, not to end on a somber note, but so that was like, years really of prep in the making to try to optimize the car to get it ready. I had decided basically, as soon as nationals had opened and they announced it would be at pit race in 2022, I was fully committed to going in 2023. So I basically spent the whole year doing research, setup, testing. They recently, at the time, had made some changes to the rules to basically you could run more power, less weight, depending if you didn't run a Hoosier or not. So I went with the Maxxis tires. And that ended up being the right call for sure after seeing how they had dominated time trial. And I went there with the plan, brought 2 sets of fresh tires. I had went to a practice event there about 6 weeks prior just to get some seat time, test some setup things, just to learn the layout of the track. Beautiful facility, of course. And just to kind of get used to the feel of it. And so got some good data there, felt the pace was strong. And it's funny because I guessed that I would be able to do a 155.3. I actually wrote it down in a message and saved it and shared it with a couple of my friends. And I said, I bet you I can do a 155.3 if it all comes together in qualifying. And sure enough, brand new set of tires. Actually, the Maxxis are kind of like the Pirelli. That first flying lap on sticker is magic. You won't touch it. And on the first flying lap, I hit all my marks perfect. Almost no brakes in the S's in the middle, deep on the nose, back end moving in the final corner, braking from almost the 5th gear rev limiter, and it came up as a 155.3. And that was like, pole lap by, I think, over a second. And I knew I'd be in good shape then. And then I was not going to mess around. I had another set of brand new tires for the race. Learned from the qualifying race. I actually had like a 6 corner battle because I didn't get a good jump in the qualifying race, and the qualifying race sets your position for the final race.
Mm-hmm.
So in the final race, I started from pole, got a clean run through turn 1, and then walked away. I forget how big the gap was. Pulled a nice margin. And then there was a pretty long yellow from a crash and debris in the middle of there, and that bunched the whole field back up again. Then I'm kind of bugging out because a guy behind me was on Hoosier tires, and those are like dead rock solid, but the Maxxis tires peak and then fall off, and I'm like, oh crap! So I really tried to cool the tires down, left myself a big margin for the green flag restart. Boom, got a good jump, sailed away, and that was it. And that was just an awesome moment because I really wanted to win that NASA championship, especially after the way, my season ended the year, prior in SRO. I had a wreck at Road America. That was bad. So, I really kind of wanted to come back in 2023 with a vengeance for sure. That was a motivator.
Yeah. That's one of our favorite tracks too. I look forward to going there.
Amazing facility.
That's my favorite track to race at. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Pit race or Road America?
No, pit race.
Pit race.
Pit race. Yeah. I love that track. I've been to so many tracks, doing what I do with Extreme Experience and stuff, and that is still it. Even though I had a big crash there, that's still that track still to me is like I love it.
It was amazing. The place is beautiful. The local area is beautiful. It's got a mix of everything. It's technical. There's a couple high speed corners that are scary, and you kind of really gotta get your courage up. That last sector, you make the right braking zone right up the hill, left, right, totally blind. Have to stay flat. Have to stay committed. Yeah, it was that's an awesome place to race. I'm actually going to be doing the GridLife Touring Cup race there at the end of the year as well. So
we'll be
nice,
there.
nice.
We'll be there. We won't be racing.
Okay.
Well, actually, Adam's trying to talk us into racing. He wants me to do Sunday Cup, but I don't feel like going to the national championship and screwing up the race for somebody else. So I'm probably going to pass. But we're going to get there. It'll be fun.
Come on, Bill. Don't be scared. Just go put your foot
I'm
to
not
the floor and
scared.
go.
I just don't want to mess up somebody. They've got a national championship, and then there's Schmuckhead over here.
And then all of a sudden you come in first.
Yeah, whatever.
Go figure.
I've seen those guys.
You never know.
Oh, Jeremy. I know. Yeah. It's going to be right there. Tomo and me. We're going to just be battling it out.
Right.
I'll come in second by like a minute and a half.
Oh, geez.
It's fine. It's fine.
Go ahead, Bill. You had another question? Did you have a question?
I do. No? Did you ever race Lucky Dog yet, Nick?
No. What's that? I've not heard of Lucky Dog. What's Lucky Dog?
No, get out.
So Lucky Dog is like
I can't tell if he's joking or not.
No, I haven't.
You've got AER.
Okay.
And I would say Lucky Dog is below AER.
Okay.
And then Champ Car Lemons.
But just.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the balance for us is like almost perfect. Like the racing is real serious racing, and then the paddock is real serious fun.
Yeah, but it's not as crazy as Lemons. Lemons gets pretty nuts.
So you got the racing of AER, you've got the paddock of Lemons with a much smaller car count of closer to AER.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a good time.
Yeah, they're mostly on the West Coast, but they're kind of trickling this way some.
Yeah. They have Go ahead.
All right. Jeremy. So we so as you have seen and heard and know of the E46 back there.
Yeah, baby.
Bill's is done and ready.
Yeah.
We're trying to get this one done so that we can take 2 cars to Lucky Dog at pit race.
Okay.
And this is in October.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's the last weekend of October.
Okay. It's not. But
no,
fine.
it's a second first or second weekend. But anyway, if you can make it, we have 6 drivers so far for 2 cars. So if you have any interest, after you and I can talk about it, and we would love to have you come and wheel some E46s and show us what these things can actually do.
That sounds like a smoking good time. But let's talk for sure.
That was one of those quick like, Jeremy, invite Nick. Jeremy.
Yeah, invite him. So, Nick, I want to go back because you said something earlier that I know about, not a lot of people know about. Can you give us a little information on the Nissan GT Academy that you did? Because obviously everyone now has seen the new movie, which you know the ins and outs of it. I think it was a well done movie. Obviously, there's some things in the movie that don't make any racing sense. But I think, the individual in the movie was a very, very good driver. Obviously, turned things around and did a very good job. But can you tell us a little bit about your experience in the GT Academy? What led you to decide you wanted to get there? How all those kind of steps took place?
Maybe even what it is, because I'm sure some of our listeners and maybe some of our hosts don't know what it is.
Yeah, sure. So the Nissan GT Academy is it's no longer going on now. It hasn't been been operating for many years now, but it was a worldwide competition that began, I think 2010-ish was the first one, all around the world, and it was a competition which was a partnership between Gran Turismo, so the and the company Polyphony Digital, they from Sony in Japan, who have been making the game Gran Turismo since, you know, the first iteration of Sony PlayStation. And they partnered with Nissan to do a competition to basically compete in Gran Turismo for an opportunity to do some pro racing in the real world. And so they basically use it as a driver search. You know, no car tuning. Everyone gets the same car. You can't make any adjustments, and you know, whoever's the fastest can get an opportunity to race in the, you know, in the final series for a chance to do that. And so I think 2010 or 11 was the first one. The first winner was Lucas Ordonez, and I forget if he's from Spain or France. And he still does endurance racing with Nissan. He was like the first guy to win ever. And then that movie was made about I'm gonna forget his name, but I think it was Jan Mardenborough or Jan Mardenborough. He won the UK GT Academy around the time I competed, obviously in the US GT Academy. So he was like 12, 13 or 14 or something. And he also ended up having a pretty good career, doing some stuff with Nissan. And so, there I was in 2010, really, really been playing Gran Turismo since it began. But, I was a young kid, was looking for an opportunity to get into racing because, as you all know, I'm sure, if you're ever going to pursue a real long career, you need to really start it as a kid and have parents, family that can back you with the money. That's just the number one thing. It is what it is, and it remains that today. But so it was an opportunity to maybe do that, to really have a once in a lifetime chance to try to earn my way in that way. And so I began to practice in 2010. Tried to make it in 2011, and actually. They took the top 24 in 2011. I finished 25 2011. I missed it by a couple thousandths of a second. That was crushing. I spent the next year literally almost every single day training to get better in the sim to make it. And then by the time 2012 came around, I actually came home on my lunch break from Pratt & Whitney in East Hartford. I had an apartment then just down the road. During my lunch break, was able to qualify. It took me 90 minutes to set a lap time that ended up being in retroactive terms anyways, would have won. Actually, I later came back and improved my time to do better, but I was able to qualify almost easily at that point. So then I did that, and then I think I finished like third overall, whatever, in the time trial. I think I actually won. So basically, how it worked is the top 24. We went over to San Diego to compete in real life and in like sim rigs there, and I actually won that competition. And then over to UK, we all went. So like the top 12 or so went over to UK inside Silverstone. And there's it was like a weeks long competition. We did crazy stuff like jumping through fire pits, doing Marine SAS training courses, live wire training, all that crazy stuff, running, physical exercise. And then there was a whole bunch of stuff with this little short track inside Silverstone. We competed in Nissan 350Zs, Nissan GTRs, all different sorts of competitions, braking. I did awesome that I won a bunch of the time trial competitions. If I didn't win, I was in the top, 3, 4, whatever. It did great. And so basically how it works is you go down right to the end, and then there's a final race, and it's a winners take all race. And, it was a long time ago now, but I've told people the story honestly, which I'll say now to the whole world. Maybe some people still might find this crazy, but so, there was basically the last, I think 6 of us went to the final race, and we were doing morning practice, and they cut me off in morning, and they cut me right there. They actually didn't let me compete in the final race, which was again a winners take all race. So if I had won that race, then I would have become the Nissan GT Academy champion. They didn't let me race in that race, and so they sort of gave some BS reasons for why, but really what happened is the night before, they brought me into a room and asked me, so if you win, are you willing to accept the deal? And the deal was, basically we're going to, you're going to have to quit your job, move over here. There was a pro race in Dubai that they were going to have us do. And I said, well, all that sounds great, but there really wasn't going to be any compensation involved. There was no guarantee. And, without talking into too much detail, it really wasn't exactly what I thought it would be. And I wasn't like some kid who, like a lot of them were, living at home with their parents, have responsibilities. I was, with my then girlfriend. I have a job, I have a career. I was ready to get up and really begin a career in pro racing, but it really wasn't like you're going to win some 6-figure contract and you're off. It was like, you're going to get enough to pay your rent and then we're going to be done with you. Maybe not. And my answer to that was the wrong answer, which was I said, well, I have to think about that. I didn't think that that's what the contract was. And they said, okay. And like I said, that was the wrong answer. So they weren't going to take a chance on me not accepting that contract. And the reason they asked me in retrospect, because I know some other guys that competed the year before and year after, they actually did have GT Academy winners that won that final race that when they were given the contract said no. And so that was why they asked, because they wanted to make sure, that I wouldn't be one of those guys. So, of course, I didn't know this until after the fact, and still was an amazing experience. But yeah, that was some insight into how things work. So, yeah, which is not to say that the guy that ended up winning, he, worked hard, earned it, talented guy. But and I'm not saying I necessarily would have won, but that's the reality of what happened the year that I was there.
We'll say it for you, man. You would have won. You would have won.
So I mean, what's left for you? I mean, you have this trajectory. How far do you want to take it?
Well,
or you just want to do it all?
Well,
everything till I have kids.
Yeah.
I have no time for anything.
I mean, the one thing I would still really like to do, which I don't know, it will not be attainable unless some miracle happens and I get some big sponsor to pay for it. But I would love to compete in some sort of pro touring car series and compete in a field championship. Because I think if given the right car and opportunity, I could win. And I wanted to do that, whether that's SRO, whether that's IMSA, or some other series. That's really what I would love to do, at least get an opportunity to do that once. That would sort of be not the last thing for me, but that's like the one ultimate goal I think I'd like to achieve if I ever could do that. So, and that is a motivating force for me as well, is to try to stay in peak shape, like peak driving shape, stay fresh, keep driving, keep competing, so that if maybe I ever do get an opportunity to do that again before I get too old, that I could do that and shine and be at my peak. So that's probably the one last thing left for me. If that'll ever happen, who knows? But we'll see. That's not something in my control. I'll do everything I can.
Well, I mean, it kind of sounds like it's almost happened a little bit with TCA, and you get some calls here and there, and I mean, you're right there.
It did, and I thought I did the best job I could. Was the leading Hyundai in every race. Took a bunch of pole positions and near pole positions, bunch of podiums, and there was some shenanigans going on there. With some of the cars we were competing against. Like all of a sudden they pick up 6-7 mile per hour in the trap speed on one lap. To get pole. Just kind of like, because all the cars are turbocharged, so it's kind of easy to play the game there. So, I can't say for sure what happened, but there was definitely some interesting things we observed. So
because racing.
Yeah. Oh, that's what you find. I have to say, like, getting experience into that world of racing, it's completely different. People aren't out there to make friends. It's not like NASA. It's not like Lemons. There's a lot of camaraderie in those series. It's not like that. It's cutthroat. There's things that occur. People want to win. Sometimes there's money involved, and it's a different vibe. I love the fight. I love the competition, but I also want a competition where it's like, and I know you can never achieve this in the real world perfectly, but I want it to be as much about the driver as possible, as little about the car as possible, and let the best person win. And so that's what I love to do. Like if I ever could compete in a dream series, it would be like the Aussie V8 supercars.
Oh my God.
That's as much about the driver as possible. They're in my opinion some of the best drivers in the world. You can touch, kiss, bang, but they race hard and fair, old school racetracks. And look, if you follow IndyCar, look at what Scott McLaughlin has been doing in IndyCar. I mean, right to the front, competitive open wheel series in America.
He is unbelievable. He is a favorite driver of mine for a very long time.
Absolutely. And so so it's a different thing. So if I ever got an opportunity to do any of those series, that would be the crowning jewel. And we'll see. It will take a sponsorship or someone funding it, because it's like they say, it's like, it doesn't matter who you are in racing. Unless you're an F1 driver, right? But it takes millions of dollars for your parents to get you enough money to do all the feeder series, and then you make it in F1, and then you get paid, right? But it's like someone's always paying, and whether it's a sponsor or something else, you can be the next Michael Schumacher, Ayrton Senna, but you have to have some money behind it, whether it's yourself or your family, or a sponsor, and you need that. And so, unfortunately, maybe the days are over where, all it's just your talent, hard work ethic, all that matters. That's not like that anymore. So, that's a bummer, but it is what it is. I'm still thankful for all the opportunities I've had, and we'll continue to, push until I can't push anymore. So we'll see.
So my headphones came loose during that story. You said your dream was Lucky Dog at pit races. That was
yes, actually, my dream is to drive a badass E46 BMW in the Lucky Dog series in pit race, and I don't know, maybe
that one came clear. I heard that one. The other one, it was garbled. I didn't get it. Maybe it'll come back when I listen to the podcast. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right. So I've got a list of about a bajillion questions that we didn't even talk about for this episode, but I think we should have a little bit of fun at the end. Maybe something. So we have what we call the Fast and Furious Storytime questions, which have nothing to do with the movie, so you don't need to know. But Jeremy, we've got the traditional Fast and Furious Storytime questions. You're going to love how I do this one, Jeremy. Just watch the master. Yeah. So we've Fast and Furious Storytime questions, and we just get to know a little bit more about you and dig it in. And the one that we always start with is, what is your favorite Jensen Button story? That's the one we always start with.
My favorite Jensen Button story.
Yeah.
Well, I could go into my closet. Probably some stuff would fall down and show it to you, but I'll tell you. Well, actually, I'll just tell you two quick ones. My favorite Jensen Button story is when Jensen Button came from behind at Canada. It was one of the Montreal Grand Prix when he was driving for McLaren Mercedes. Rain race, wet, damp, drying conditions. And I think Sebastian Vettel and the Red Bull was leading, and his tires faded. And Jensen Button just made the most heroic drive in the damp, treacherous conditions. Ran Sebastian Vettel by him, won the Montreal Grand Prix. It was just the most brilliant display of feeling out. The tires are whispering to you, taking risk, calculated driving I've ever seen. My heart rate goes up just thinking about that. That's my best Jensen Button story, watching him race. And then number two is after I got back from the Nissan GT Academy in 2012, I went to the F1 Grand Prix in Austin, Texas, the first race they ever did there, 2012. And they had a driving simulator competition in iRacing, driving some car. It might have been a F1 or open wheel car. And I competed in this driving sim competition. It was like in little downtown Austin. They had the whole area blocked off. It was like a big party all week. And whoever won the driving simulator competition won a signed Mercedes, like SLK GTR touring car, radio controlled car, signed in silver by Jensen Button, who was at the race. And I went back 3 times. There was like, 800 or 900 people that competed. On my third trip back, I went, set the fastest time, won the car. And that thing has been in the box in my closet since 2012. I'm never getting rid of that thing. Signed by one of my heroes, Jensen Bud.
It's amazing how you
Wow.
had that story, and we always start with that as our first Fast and Furious story time question. It's amazing how that happened. Miss Vicki, you want to start with the real Fast and Furious story time questions?
Yes, absolutely. So I love this question. What was your first car and what was the worst car you ever had?
For the first and worst.
It's
All
my
right.
We
favorite
set the
one.
bar. We set the bar low, man. We start with the bar low, and then you just step right over.
Sure.
fun.
I can tell you exactly my first car was a hand-me-down, not from my grandfather, but my great-great-grandfather. It was a 1985 Toyota Camry, that like maroonish brown color and the
Mhm.
really boxy. That was my first ever car, hand-me-down. He used to smoke fresh tobacco out of a pipe. He had a tobacco tin in the back. I got it with a tobacco tin in it. Smelled like fresh tobacco. Automatic transmission. I think it was a 3-speed. I think it was carbureted. 80 something horsepower. I drove that car up to Lake George on a family vacation with my grandparents at age 16. Awesome car. Love that thing. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
So worst car. Oh my gosh. I don't know about the worst. I mean, so I wouldn't say it was the worst. I don't think I've ever disliked the car I've owned because I've loved cars so much. But I did own a 1994 Hyundai Elantra with a 5-speed manual transmission, and it got totaled 2 weeks after I got it. I was, I think I was like 17 at the time or something. This woman pulled out in front of me in an intersection. So yeah, it was a Hyundai with a 5-speed transmission. So that was probably the worst car. But I still love that thing. It had good power, lightweight, front wheel drive, no ABS, no traction control. It would do burnouts. So I still love the worst car I've ever owned.
That's fine.
Ah.
Big J, what you got?
All right, so I got to ask this because of a previous comment earlier. What is your dream track to drive at and or race at?
And car.
All right, so I'll just tell you the first thing that came to my mind: Spa Francorchamps. Yeah, that track. I probably have over 1,000 laps there in the driving simulator. Terrifying, scary, pushes the limits. Everything. Even just being there, the backdrop, that would be amazing for sure. And you asked what would be my dream car to race? Or okay, that's a tough question. It would probably. I actually could not say, other than the fact that I would probably say I would want to probably race in something that I know the best, which is front engine, rear wheel drive. So I would love to maybe run some sort of Audi or BMW DTM car, some sort of front engine, rear wheel drive, 400 or 500 horsepower, enough aero to peel your skin off your face, sequential manual transmission, just to, something that'll do over 2 Gs in the middle of the corner and really test your poise and your fitness. That would be awesome.
Okay. Simple question. We don't want to hit you with the hard stuff. What's the coolest car ever?
The coolest car ever?
Yeah, ever.
Oh my gosh. That's a difficult question. In terms of raw coolness, so I'm gonna tell you what I think is the coolest, and then my favorite that I've ever owned, and that I think everyone should own or drive someday. I like 1960s to 80s cars. I think the mid-year Corvettes, like a tuxedo black split window coupe, 1963 Vet. I mean, I think that is just the most beautiful car ever made. Period. It doesn't get any better for me than that. In terms of most badass, Buick Grand National, just like a black Buick Grand National, making 5.6 street car with a larger turbo, just mean, roll up to your local drag strip and do nines with that thing. I've never owned a car that old or anything like that. Maybe that'll be something I get when I retire. But my favorite car that I've ever owned, which I just love, and I think it's a work of art and an engineering marvel, is the Honda S2000. I've owned two of them. I owned an AP1 S2000, the 2002 Sebring Silver, and I owned a 2008 Honda S2000 Club Racer Edition, and they only made like 3,000 of those things. It was black again. I love either black cars or white cars. Those are my favorite. It was also a delete model, so no air conditioning, no radio. Lightweight, some functional aero, open cockpit, stiff, great noises, and a car that's very, very hard to drive 10/10. It's easy to go fast 9/10, but it's like a Hattori Hanzo sword, if you're familiar with the Kill Bill series of movies. It's a real weapon, and in the hands of a master, you're unstoppable. And I learned how to drive on that car, and the lessons I learning how to fight the terrifying nature of a super bump steery dynamic toe change AP1 S2000 has stayed with me for the rest of my life.
So if that's your car of choice, there's a missing line on your resume for racing. GLTC. It's like the GLTC.
Oh God.
Magic button.
No, he's gonna go win GLTC with his BMW.
Oh man, I appreciate the kudos. I don't know if I'll be winning with it, but we'll see. I do agree though, the S2000 is the car to have. Tomo showed that. Tomo is a master level driver. He showed what that car can do. If I was going to build one car for that series, it would be the S2000 for sure. I do think the E36 can work well. I don't know if I picked the right setup configuration, because nobody seems to run front splitters and big wings, and I went with the big front splitter rear wing combination, which I have a lot of experience with in NASA. I don't know if that's going to work out right, but I think I'll be quick enough to keep people honest. That's for sure. But to be honest with you, what I'm thinking about is I'm going to use Mid Ohio as like a recon event. Let's learn, let's gather intel on the competition. But then Lime Rock Park is where I really want to battle. And I think the high aero setup, even if it's not the fastest on the straights, P1 in the uphill, P1 in the downhill, make some magic happen at the home track that's 90 minutes from where I live. That's what I'm going for. And I hope you guys come to that race.
We're there. We're there.
I think, didn't you recently, within the last year or so, set a lap record there for a class, possibly?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did. I did a 58.1 in ST5 trim there on Maxxis tires. Yeah.
Which, for those listening, is incredible.
A 56.1?
58.1.
58.1.
58.1.
Hold on.
Wasn't that over a second faster than the second qualifier?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
number 2 qualifier?
Yep. Yeah. And the car, so I've actually never uncorked it completely there on Hoosiers, but it would do like somewhere in the 56s, if not even better. Like right now, as it sits today, with like the really strong engine, no restrictor plate, fresh Hoosiers type of deal. Yeah. It rocks. Yeah, and it's optimized for Lime Rock. I probably shouldn't give away all the secrets, but
Bill can edit that out.
I'm looking up what GLTC did last year. They were doing 57s. Is the peak.
I think the fastest guy there last year was Tomo, who did a 57, high 57, and
but you got to remember, when he set the lap record, that was ST5. That's a very restricted class.
Yeah, and it's a different tire. It's a smaller tire. From what I hear, the GridLife tires, even though they took away some of the more sticky ones, are almost the same or maybe even slightly quicker. They're actually classed in NASA as a faster time trial tire than the SD5 tire. And if that's true, I'll be doing low 58s at least. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but yeah.
That's fine. Well, we will be there. I don't know if Jeremy will honor us with his presence, but
I'm gonna try to make it down for that one.
Man, August 16th, 17th is the Saturday. You gotta come. It's gonna be an awesome time. Win, lose, or draw. It's gonna be a smoking good time.
I was unable to get my ticket for my Sunday cupper, but if one comes available, I have the car already, and Miss Vicki will assist. So we'll be there.
Of course.
We'll
Of course. Okay, so my question is, what do you feel that you excel at on the track, and what do you think still needs work?
Well, everything always needs work. But I think I'm best at staying, having poise under the most extreme pressure situations. I love that. That's part of the reason why I do it. I enjoy a right up to the limit, hard battle with another driver, right up to the limit, and maybe even doing some things that maybe some drivers wouldn't feel comfortable with. But I'm okay with right up to the limit, on the borderline of uncomfortable, even kissing a little bit type racing. But it's like it's almost like a ballet, and it's a dance. And if you can execute whether you win or lose, hard but fair battle right at the limit, taking risks, it's like there's like nothing better than that. I've won battles, I've lost battles. There was a great battle I did not win, me versus Ronnie Vidoc at Lime Rock, wet, damp, drying conditions. Like, started from the back, he started second from the back. We came together at the end, 8-9 lap battle, nose to tail. I could not get by him. I was kissing his bumper. One of the best battles I've ever had. I did not get by him. I lost the battle, but that was one of my top 10 racing battles ever. It's on YouTube, actually, if you want to check that one out. I watched it the other day. Yeah, so that's I think where I excel is because I think that I say that because I think that makes the difference. Is in a battle, it's like it's not the person who wins the battle, it's who makes the mistake, who blinks, who makes the first mistake, and that ends up often determining in a battle of similar pace who wins.
It's like spec racing.
Right, exactly. Which is why I love sim racing, because it's the ultimate spec racing. It's really no excuses, right? It's really, everyone really has the same car. So if you win or lose, it's on your driving. That's what I love about sim racing. It's like the ultimate humbling effect, humbling tool. The driving thing is what I focus on. Everything, I could talk to you for hours about just driving technique, your eyes, your vision, your hand technique, pushing versus not pulling, apexing, how you trail on and off the brakes, trail on. It's all that stuff. That's what I do. What can I improve upon? Sometimes I still get distracted. It's easy to get complacent, or even, in the car, something comes to mind, your job, life, or whatever. It's like, it's crazy, but I don't think anyone is immune to the distractions. You have to stay focused 100% of the time. And sometimes it's maybe you're not hydrated enough. Maybe sometime there's something in your life that's going on. But your body and your car and your competitors demand 100% of your focus. So staying focused, staying cool. I always try to focus on that. That's why I have the smart decisions. Again, going back to the first thing I said, you owe it to yourself and your competitors to always make smart decisions. So I know that about myself, and I don't think I've really ever made any real bad decisions, and then knock on wood. But
you came on the podcast.
so yeah.
Big J. Jeremy.
All right. Because nobody else ever asked this one. Clarkson, Hammond, May, Chris, Matt, other.
Who's my favorite?
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta go with Clarkson. You know, I mean, I did. I mean, he's a legend. How do you not go with Clarkson? I mean, I was watching him 20 years ago. You know, what he's done, how he brought. I used to love you. You want to know what I used to love? I used to love when he would bring people in for those interviews, and there was like there'd be hundreds of people in a crowd, and it was like they were interviewing someone. I remember they interviewed Sebastian Vettel, they interviewed Lewis Hamilton. I remember when they revealed who the Sting was, and it took his hat off, Michael Schumacher. I love how they started the whole testing where they have the test course on the airport runway, and they got to you see which car is faster, and even like give annotations if it was a rain lap or not. I view him as like the godfather of all that. So yeah, that's
Okay.
that's who I got to pick.
All right, my last one, because we have a ton of these. We could go for hours on these.
Yeah.
But all right, so Northeast guy, you're familiar with the claw game. So, what car would you love to switch into that you're either racing now or raced against in the past, and at which track? So you have the claw, you go over, you put it right on the car, you pop that guy right out of there or girl, and you jump in, and what track?
Oh my gosh. I would have to think about that one.
There's no thinking on this podcast, sir.
Yeah,
You just
well,
got
okay. So
Very overrated.
I'll just tell you. I'll just tell you the first thing that came to mind,
That's
and
fine.
I don't know why it came to mind, but it would be to grab the fastest Trans Am Series car and race a Trans Am race at Lime Rock Park.
Oh.
I would take the fastest car there and see how I would stack up driving one of those 600-700 horsepower monsters. I would love to do that.
That sounds like great fun. Well, that was my last one. Miss Vicki, your last?
What's your most memorable car breakdown on the road or track?
The most memorable car breakdown on the road or track?
Yeah, we all have one.
Well,
I
I've
wish we only
had
had one.
I remember. Well, I've had 3 engine failures due to other issues with my S52 engines. But you know what? I'll just take it back to Lemons. All right, the first ever Lemons race I did with Tom Lamino, 2013, Loudon, New Hampshire. And
What? His car broke down?
No.
Shocking! No.
Man, I was driving the car in practice, and it was like Spy Hunter smoke screen coming up the uphill. And you know what? Everyone took off because they're like, shit, I'm not dealing with this. I'm going to go home and get some sleep. And I said, this is my first Lemons race. And, I wouldn't be a team player if I didn't stick around. So me and Tom Lamino, who I just met for the first time, spent a couple days basically ourselves. We drove to junkyards, got parts, rebuilt the whole engine, overnight. It was like a mishmash of various 2-liter 8 valves. And we got that thing back on the track with a couple hours left on Sunday, and we won the heroic fix.
There you go.
Nice.
I would probably say that was and it's funny because I think that actually set the tone for Tom and I being friends for so long, because it's like, man, if this newbie who I don't even know is willing to stick around, and rebuild this, old V dub, maybe he's a good dude. So yeah, that was a great experience. There's always an opportunity in everything.
Exactly.
Right.
Jeremy, wrap it up for this episode. We've got more.
We're going to wrap it up for this episode. Let's make this one interesting, shall we say?
Let's not start getting interesting now, Jeremy.
All right, Nick. So
remember, it's all overrated.
The rest of your life, you have to drive and race a certain car from a certain era. Like, let's see, cars from, or not certain car, but cars from a certain era. So like 85 to 95, right? Only. That's all you get, right? 80 to 90, whatever that era is. What era would you pick?
Okay. Does it have to be like a US based production car type thing?
It doesn't have to be a car, just cars from an era. Like if what years would you want?
Yeah. It would, okay. If I could pick one car probably for the rest of my life that I could race in history, excluding the Aussie V8s, it would probably be the late 1990s era Japanese Grand Touring car JGTC 500 class cars, the Castrol Tom Supras, the
Skylines.
the Skylines. In my childhood, Gran Turismo growing up, I drove those things, super well balanced, sleek, not much aero, but enough, 500 horsepower, very similar, awesome noises, great sound, shooting fireballs. I'm a big sucker for the 1990s era automobiles. I'm biased. I think those are like overall the best vehicles ever made. It was like peak over engineering, not quite into all the nannies and traction control and high crash bumper beams and airbags and fluff and garbage. It was raw manual transmission, cast iron blocks with aluminum heads, turbochargers, super cool, badass styling that only the 90s can reproduce, whether it's, movies or automobiles. I just think 1990s was like peak Earth, it would have to be a car from the 1990s, like
90s. Okay.
Okay, so really, what you said is you want the convertible Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Is that what I heard? The late 90s? Is that late 90s?
Hey, I wouldn't be too proud to rock one of those IROC Z Camaros. We got East Haven just down the road.
Yeah, fit right in.
There it is.
I'm
Well, Nick,
Italian too. It works.
then you should go for the GTA Guido Trim Accessories.
There you go.
There it is. That's fine. It's all good. So the good news is you made it through like 6 or 7 of our questions. The bad news is we have, what are we up to? 43 of them. So by the time you get done, you've got a lot of podcasts to do, sir.
We'll get some coffee. Yeah.
All right. That'll be fun. That'll be fun.
That sounds great.
So we're obviously going to have you back on if you're dumb enough to answer my emails. But
I would love to come back up.
In case people want to catch up with you, how would they get in contact with you? I know you do some coaching and instruction and everything. So
yeah. I have an Instagram page. Just look me up, Nicholas Barbato on Instagram. Shoot me a message there. I haven't made a pro account yet. I have a YouTube channel which I still need to kind of optimize, but Barbato Speed Factory. My little deal is called the Barbato Speed Factory. So you can shoot me an email, barbatoracing@gmail.com, or shoot me a message on Instagram. I'll respond both ways. Reach out to me either way. Would love to work with anyone that wants to learn, whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro veteran. I think I can help, and I love all of it. So
what about people who've been doing this for a few years and still look like they're still just starting out? Is that a challenge for you?
No, that's what I love. And there's so many things we can go over, right? Because it's not practice makes perfect. It's good practice makes perfect, right? It's proper practice makes perfect. So if you're practicing the wrong things in the wrong way, then you're not going to get any better. And it's like golf. You have to break it down to mechanics. There's literally a science and there's fundamentals. I mean, literally the way you sit in the seat and the way you put your hands on the steering wheel will affect your lap times, your performance, your consistency, your confidence. I will break down all of that and more. And as you can tell, I'm very passionate about that. So that person who we just as ideal of a candidate as any.
Awesome. Well, before we start lobbying you to join us at the Lucky Dog race and pit race, we just want to grease the skids just a little bit. As bad as we are at podcasting, we are excellent at paddock, and our paddock is rocking hard. We got the food covered, we got the lodging covered, but the rest of it TBD.
That sounds awesome. You sound way better at that than me. My paddock game is low. I need some pro coaching from the Garage Heroes and training team to up
that's
my
fine.
paddock game. It's just a couple of easy up tents and some fold up tables and chairs. Yeah,
we got you.
We got you. We got
all right. That sounds like a good synergy. We can.
They always say you got to be good at something. We just aren't good at the driving, but that's fine. It's fine. Well, thank you for coming on, Nick. It was great having you on. And Jeremy, your producer role, you're growing into it. You're doing good.
You're doing really good.
We're killing it lately, aren't we?
I think so. I might even listen now. Thank you, Nick.
Right.
And thanks
Thank
so
you,
much
Nick.
for having me. It was awesome. I had a blast. Awesome talking to all you guys. Really cool. Look forward to talking to y'all more on the podcast and hanging out with you in real life for sure. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for coming.
Hell yeah.